The maid brought coffee every day to an elderly woman, until her boss saw and... Sarah Miller woke up every day at 5:30 in the morning to follow a routine that had become more important than any professional duty. Before heading to work, she made a special stop at the Central Park of the small town of Savannah where she lived, carrying with her a thermos of hot coffee and 2 porcelain cups she carefully kept in her worn leather bag. The elderly woman, who occupied the same wooden bench every morning, never said her name, but Sarah affectionately called her Mrs. Hope. It was 3 months ago that the domestic worker first noticed that grey-haired lady in worn clothes, shivering from the cold in the early hours of the day. Without thinking twice, she offered her a cup of coffee, and since then couldn't pass by without repeating the gesture. "Good morning, Mrs. Hope," Sarah would murmur every morning, sitting next to the lady on the dew-damp bench. "Good morning, my dear," the elderly woman would reply in a hoarse but sweet voice, extending her trembling hands to receive the steaming cup. Those daily 15 minutes became sacred for both of them. Sarah talked about her work at the house of Mr. Marcus Harrison, a successful businessman who owned a construction group in the town. Mrs. Hope, in turn, spoke little about her past, but always showed genuine interest in the young woman's stories. "He's very demanding, you know," Sarah would comment, watching the steam rise from the cup. "Everything has to be perfect. The towels folded a specific way, the coffee served at the exact time, the furniture without a speck of dust." "And does he treat you well, at least?" Mrs. Hope would ask, her hands clasped around the warm porcelain. "I can't complain. He pays on time, gives me Sundays off. But he's distant, you know. Never smiles, never asks if I need anything. That's like I'm invisible." What Sarah didn't know was that Marcus Harrison had begun to notice her small delays. Every day, promptly at 7:05 in the morning, she arrived at the mansion on the Upper East Side. At first, he thought it might be a traffic or public transport problem. But the regularity of the delay bothered him. Marcus was a meticulous man. At 42, he had built a real estate empire based on precision and punctuality. He expected the same from his employees. During 30 years of business career, he had fired dozens of people for reasons smaller than constant lateness. "Sarah," he called her on a rainy Tuesday, as she was hanging her coat in the kitchen closet. "Yes, Mr. Marcus. You've been arriving 5 minutes late every day. Is there a problem I need to know about?" Sarah felt her heart race. "No, sir. The bus sometimes gets delayed because of traffic." "Traffic isn't delayed exactly 5 minutes every day, Sarah. I want this corrected immediately." "Yes, sir, I apologize." But Sarah couldn't abandon her morning routine. The next morning, there she was again in the park, serving coffee to Mrs. Hope. This time she arrived at work 6 minutes late. Marcus decided he needed to find out what was happening. On Thursday, he left home earlier than usual and discreetly followed the path he imagined his employee took. He parked his imported car on a street near the park and walked until he had a clear view of the spot. What he saw left him furious. Sarah was sitting calmly on a bench, talking to a homeless woman, serving coffee in cups he recognized as being from his own home. The scene revolted him. Not only was she using his supplies to feed a homeless person, but she was also wasting time that should have been dedicated to work. Taking a deep breath to control his anger, Marcus walked determinedly toward the bench. His firm steps on the gravel caught the attention of the 2 women. "So this is what you do with my house's coffee?" His voice cut through the morning air like a sharp blade. Sarah stood up immediately, spilling a few drops of coffee on her uniform pants. "Mr. Harrison, I can explain—" "Explain what? That you're stealing my supplies to give to vagrants?" He pointed disdainfully at Mrs. Hope, who had lowered her head in shame. "It's not theft, sir. I buy the coffee with my own money. These cups are mine too. I brought them from home." "Don't lie to me, Sarah. I recognize my own china. And even if it were true, you're arriving late to work because of this." The elderly woman, who had remained silent until then, slowly raised her face. When her eyes met Marcus's, she murmured something almost inaudible. "Marky." The businessman froze. It had been over 30 years since anyone had called him by that childhood nickname. Only one person in his entire life had used that diminutive with such affection. "Mary Catherine," his voice came out shaky, disbelieving. "My boy, Tears began to stream down the elderly woman's wrinkled face. "You've grown so much." Sarah looked from the former nanny to her employer without understanding what was happening. The man who moments before was yelling at her was now pale as a ghost, his hands visibly trembling. "It can't be you," Marcus murmured, approaching slowly. "Mary Catherine left decades ago. My parents said that she had stolen and—" "I never stole anything, Marky," the elderly woman interrupted softly. "Never in my life. I only loved you like a son." Childhood memories came back like an avalanche. Mary Catherine, the nanny who had cared for him from age 5 to 12, the woman who comforted him when his parents constantly traveled for work, who taught him to tie his shoes, who made his favorite snacks, who stayed by his side during thunderstorms because he was afraid of lightning. "But what happened to you? Why are you—" He gestured vaguely, referring to her condition of being homeless. Mary Catherine wiped her tears with the back of her dirty hand. "After your parents sent me away, I never got a steady job again. They always said I was too old, or that I got too attached to the children. Little by little, I lost everything. My parents said you had stolen jewelry from my mother." "A lie!" Her voice came out firm, despite the tremors. "The only thing I took from that house were the memories of you, my boy." Sarah, still not fully understanding the situation, realized she was witnessing something much bigger than a simple encounter. The tension in the air was palpable, laden with years of hurt and longing. "Mr. Harrison," she dared to speak, "the lady always told me about a boy she cared for. She said he was special, that he would be a great man when he grew up." Marcus looked at the employee as if seeing her for the first time. "She talked about me?" "Every day," Sarah confirmed, her voice softer now. "She told how you liked chocolate cookies, how you were afraid of thunderstorms, how you drew little houses with smoking chimneys. She kept all the drawings you made for her." "You kept my drawings?" Marcus's voice almost broke. Mary Catherine rummaged in a worn cloth bag she always carried with her. Carefully, she pulled out a yellowed envelope. "All I have that's most precious in the world." Inside the envelope were children's drawings made with crayons, small Mother's Day cards written in crooked handwriting, and some old photos where a blonde boy smiled next to a dark-skinned woman in an apron. Marcus took one of the drawings with trembling hands. It was a colorful house with 2 figures in front, a small boy and a tall woman. At the top, written in uneven capital letters, the words, "Me and Mary Catherine in our happy home." "Do you remember when you drew this?" she asked softly. "It was the day your parents returned from a 2-week trip. You said our house was happier than the real house because no one yelled here." The memories came flooding back with full force. Marcus remembered that day perfectly. His parents had arrived fighting, as always. He ran to the maid's room where Mary Catherine slept and stayed there drawing while she folded clothes and hummed quietly. "Why did you never look for me?" he asked, his voice laden with pain. "I tried, my boy, many times, but your parents had the security guards keep me away. They said I was a bad influence, that you needed to forget people like me." "People like you?" Marcus repeated, outraged. "Poor, uneducated people. They wanted you to only associate with important people." Sarah listened to everything in silence, beginning to understand the magnitude of what she was witnessing. The cold, demanding man she knew at work was crumbling before her eyes, revealing a wounded boy who had never gotten over the abandonment. Dear listener, if you are enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we are just starting out, now continuing. "You must hate me," Marcus said, his voice almost a whisper. "Never, my boy. Not one day in my life have I felt hatred for you, only longing." "But why? How did you end up in this situation?" He gestured again, referring to her condition of being homeless. Mary Catherine sighed deeply before answering. "After I left your home, I got work caring for other children for a few years. But whenever they became attached to me or I to them, the parents would send me away. They said I created too much emotional dependency." "That's ridiculous," Marcus murmured. "As time went on, I got older and opportunities dwindled. I started drinking to forget the pain of losing you. The alcohol made me lose the last jobs I managed to get. By 60, I couldn't get work with families anymore. And where did you live? In cheap boarding houses, rented rooms, sometimes at acquaintances' places. But when the money ran out completely 2 years ago, I had no choice. The streets became my home. Marcus sat down heavily on the bench next to Mary Catherine. For the first time in decades, he cried in front of another person. I didn't know. If I had known, what would you have done, my son? You were a child when they sent me away. It's not your fault. But I could have looked for you when I grew up. I could have questioned my parents' version. You believed them because they were your parents. It's natural. Sarah, who had remained discreet during the conversation, slowly approached. Mr. Marcus, may I say something? He looked at her with eyes red from tears. Of course. Mrs. Hope. Ms. Mary Catherine. She never said anything bad about you. On the contrary. Every morning she tells me stories about what a special, intelligent, kind child you were. She always said she was sure you would become a good man. A good man, Marcus repeated bitterly. What good man mistreats a maid for helping someone in need? A man who is learning, Mary Catherine interjected softly. You were always kind at heart, Marky. You just forgot it for a while. I don't want your apologies, Marcus said, but his voice held no anger. I want your honor back. I want to give you a dignified life again. I don't want charity, my son. It's not charity. It's justice. It's reparation for 30 years of a lie that destroyed your life. Mary Catherine shook her head. I cannot accept. I learned to live with dignity even on the streets. Accepting your pity would be admitting total defeat. Then let's find another solution, Sarah suggested, one that preserves everyone's dignity. Marcus looked at her with interest. What do you have in mind? Well, you're always complaining how hard it is to find qualified caregivers for your daughter, aren't you? The nannies never stay long because Lily is, let's say, a child who needs special patience. Marcus nodded. His 6-year-old daughter was indeed a challenge. After the tumultuous divorce from his ex-wife, who moved to another city and visited the girl only occasionally, Lily had developed behavioral problems. She cried constantly, threw tantrums, and rejected every caregiver. Mrs. Mary Catherine has training and experience with children, Sarah continued, and perhaps Lily needs exactly what she has to offer, genuine love and infinite patience. Are you suggesting I hire Mary Catherine as my daughter's nanny? Marcus asked slowly. I'm suggesting you give her a chance to rebuild her life through work, not charity. And at the same time, your daughter would have someone who truly cares for her, not just another employee doing a job. Mary Catherine was silent for a long moment, processing the proposal. It's been a long time since I cared for a small child. I don't know if I'm still physically able. You calmed my wounded boy's heart for 7 years, Marcus said softly. I'm sure you can do the same for my daughter. But I no longer have a home. I don't have proper clothes. I don't have... That can all be worked out, Sarah interrupted. What you can't buy is genuine love, and you have that in abundance. Marcus was thoughtful for a few minutes. The proposal made sense on several levels. It would solve the constant problem of finding caregivers for Lily, give Mary Catherine a chance to rebuild her life, and allow him to repair, at least partially, the injustice of the past. There is one condition, he said finally. What? Asked Mary Catherine. That you forgive me for the blindness of these 30 years, for never questioning my parents' version of events, for continuing my life without seeking the truth. I forgave you a long time ago, my son. In fact, there was never anything to forgive. You were a hurt child who grew up not knowing the truth. So, do you accept? Mary Catherine looked at Sarah, then at Marcus. May I meet your daughter first, before we decide anything? Of course. In fact, she's at the office with me today. The current nanny called out at the last minute. Shall we go there then? Suggested Sarah. The trio walked toward the office building where Marcus's office was located. Along the way, Mary Catherine shared more details about the years she spent on the streets. She talked about the people she met, the difficulties she faced, but also about the small kindnesses she found along the way. There is a lot of prejudice against people in my situation, she explained. Most people think we're lazy or addicted to drugs. Some are, it's true, but many of us are just people who didn't have luck in life. How did you survive? Marcus asked, genuinely curious. I collected recyclable materials, sometimes got a few dollars washing dishes at restaurants. Other times, kind people like Sarah offered me food. During the winter, I slept in church doorways or in temporary shelters. Wasn't it ever dangerous? Very, especially for a woman my age. I've been robbed several times, beaten up by drunk people who thought I was a nuisance. But I also found protection in groups of other homeless people who look out for each other. Sarah noticed that Marcus was absorbing information about a world he had never considered existed so close to his own. The successful businessman was discovering a parallel reality that had always been there, but invisible to his privileged eyes. Sarah, he said suddenly, I want to thank you. Thank me for what, sir? For seeing a person where I only saw a problem, for having compassion where I only felt irritation, for making me find someone I thought I had lost forever. I didn't do anything special. I just offered a coffee. A coffee that changed 3 lives, Mary Catherine observed wisely. When they arrived at the office building, Marcus hesitated before entering. Mary Catherine, perhaps it's better if you... the people here might judge me by my appearance, she completed without bitterness. You're right. I don't want to cause you embarrassment. It's not that, he hurried to correct. It's just... Well, maybe it would be better if we bought you some new clothes first. Not for me, but so you feel more comfortable. Marky is right, Sarah agreed. And maybe a bath and a good meal would do you good too. We can go to the town mall, Marcus suggested. We'll buy everything you need and then we'll come back to meet Lily. Mary Catherine agreed, and the 3 headed to the shopping center. During the shopping, Marcus watched as she chose simple and practical pieces, always asking the prices and showing discomfort with expenses that were insignificant to him. You don't need to be so frugal, he said, when she rejected a dress for being too expensive. Yes, I do. I've learned that everything in life has a price, and I don't like owing favors. It's not a favor, it's an investment. If you're going to take care of my daughter, you need to dress appropriately. After the shopping and a lunch at a mall restaurant, Mary Catherine used the ladies' room to freshen up. When she came out, the transformation was striking. With clean clothes, combed hair, and a little makeup that Sarah had helped her apply, she seemed to have grown 10 years younger. You look beautiful, Marcus said sincerely. I feel like myself again, she replied, smiling for the first time since the meeting in the park. At the office, Marcus introduced Mary Catherine to his secretary simply as an old family friend. The employee greeted her politely, suspecting nothing. Lily was in her father's office playing alone with some toys scattered on the floor. When she saw the adults enter, she hid behind the executive chair. Lily, come meet Mrs. Mary, Marcus called gently. The girl peeked from behind the chair, her big dark eyes studying the stranger with curiosity and distrust. Is she another nanny who's going to leave? The question hurt Marcus's heart. His daughter had developed an emotional defense, avoiding attachment to caregivers because she knew they wouldn't stay for long. She is a very special person, Marcus replied. She took care of me when I was little like you. Mary Catherine slowly crouched down, coming to the child's level. Hi, sweetheart. You look a lot like your daddy when he was little. Really? Lily came out a little more from behind the chair. Exactly the same clever eyes, the same little turned-up nose. And I bet you're smart like him too. Daddy said you took care of him when he was a kid. I did, and it was the happiest time of my life. Why did you stop? The simple question took everyone by surprise. Mary Catherine was at a loss for how to explain the complexity of the situation to a 6-year-old. Sometimes adults do things they shouldn't do, she replied diplomatically, and sometimes people drift apart even when they don't want to. Like my daddy and my mommy. Something like that, yes? Lily moved a little closer. Are you leaving too? I don't know yet, my dear. That depends on you too. On me? If you want me to stay, I can stay. If you don't, that's okay too. The girl was thoughtful for a few moments. Do you know how to tell stories? I know many stories. Some real, some made up. Can you tell one now? Mary Catherine looked at Marcus, who nodded encouragingly. She sat on the floor, and Lily slowly moved closer to sit beside her. Once upon a time, there was a boy who was very afraid of storms, Mary Catherine began, glancing discreetly at Marcus. Every time he heard thunder, he would run to the room of someone he loved very much and hide under the covers. Lily listened attentively, fascinated. What did that person do? She would hug the boy very tight and sing a special song that made the fear go away. What song? Mary Catherine began to hum softly a gentle melody that Marcus recognized immediately. It was the same song she sang for him during the storms of his childhood. The memories moved him so much that he had to turn away to hide his tears. "It's pretty," Lily commented. "Can you teach me?" "Yes, I can, if you want. And can you sing it when I'm scared too?" "Whenever you need me to, my dear, my..." Marcus watched the interaction between his daughter and Mary Catherine with growing emotion. It was the first time in months he had seen Lily relaxed in the presence of an unfamiliar adult. The girl, who used to be shy and distrustful, was visibly enchanted with the new person. "Mrs. Mary," Lily said suddenly, "can you stay for dinner tonight?" "If your daddy allows it." "Of course she can." Marcus hurried to answer. "In fact, how about we go out to dinner, the three of us?" "Can I choose the restaurant?" Lily asked excitedly. "Yes, you can." The girl chose a family pizzeria they occasionally went to. During dinner, Marcus observed how Mary Catherine interacted naturally with Lily, cutting her pizza into small pieces, wiping her mouth with a napkin, patiently listening to her childish stories. "Mrs. Mary," Lily said while eating, "do you have children?" "No, my dear. I never married or had children of my own." "Why?" "Because I spent my life taking care of other people's children, and I loved every child as if they were my own." "Would you love me too?" The question touched Mary Catherine's heart deeply. "I'm already starting to love you, little one." "So can you be my heart grandma?" Marcus almost choked on his soda. Mary Catherine was speechless for a few seconds. "If you want, I would love to be your heart grandma." "I do. Daddy, can Mrs. Mary come live with us?" Marcus looked at Mary Catherine, who was visibly moved. "It depends on her accepting a job taking care of you." "It's a job?" Lily asked. "Yes, it is," Mary Catherine explained. "It would be my profession to take care of you, give you baths, make your food, take you to school, play with you." "And you would get dollars for that?" "Yes, I would." "Then say yes, please." Mary Catherine looked at Marcus, who nodded encouragingly. "I accept, my dear, but on one condition." "What?" "That you be a well-behaved girl and obey me when I say it's time to sleep, to take a bath, to do homework. I promise, I promise." Lily got up from her chair and hugged Mary Catherine with a surprising strength for a 6-year-old. "Now I have a real heart, Grandma." Marcus felt his heart warm in a way he hadn't experienced in a long time. His daughter, who had been showing signs of childhood depression in recent months, was genuinely happy for the first time in so long. "Then it's decided," he said officially. "Mary Catherine, you're hired as Lily's official caregiver." "Thank you, Marky. You won't regret this." "I know I won't." After dinner, the three of them went home. Marcus's mansion, which had always seemed cold and empty, suddenly came to life with Mary Catherine's presence. She helped Lily take a bath, brushed her hair, and told more stories at bedtime. "Daddy," Lily called when he went to say goodnight, "today was the best day of my life." "Why, sweetie?" "Because I found my heart grandma, and you seem happier too." Marcus kissed his daughter's forehead, surprised by the child's perception. It was true. He felt happier and more complete than he had in years. When Lily finally fell asleep, Marcus and Mary Catherine sat in the living room to talk about the practical details of the new situation. "I need to know a few things," he said, "about your health, your physical condition, if you need any medical follow-up." "I don't have any serious illnesses, just the normal aches of age and some issues from the years living on the street. Nothing a good doctor can't fix. Tomorrow you'll have a full checkup. Private, with the best doctors in town." That much luxury isn't necessary, Marky. Yes, it is. I want to be sure you're well enough to care for my daughter, and also because I care about you. Mary Catherine smiled tenderly. You're still my special boy, even as a grown man. I want you to know this isn't charity. It's a real job with a fair salary, official paperwork, all the labor rights. How much do you plan to pay me? Marcus mentioned a figure that made Mary Catherine's eyes widen. It was 3 times more than she earned as a nanny 30 years ago, even considering inflation. That's a lot of money, Marky. It's what a qualified caregiver deserves to earn, and you have more experience and dedication than anyone else I could hire. And where will I live? Do I need to rent a room nearby? There's a maid's room here in the house that's empty. It's small but comfortable. Of course, if you prefer to live elsewhere, I can help with the rent. The maid's room is perfect. In fact, it's more than I ever dreamed of having again. Marcus stood up and walked to the window, looking at the illuminated garden. Mary Catherine, can I ask a personal question? Of course, my son. During all those years on the streets, did you ever think it wasn't worth going on living? She was silent for a long moment before answering. Many times, especially in the early years when the pain of the alcohol and the loss was greater than the will to live. What made you continue? The hope of one day finding you again, and the certainty that you had become a good man even without me around. Marcus turned to her with tear-filled eyes. And what if I hadn't? What if I had become someone cruel, heartless? Then I would have been happy to have known you for 7 years of your childhood, when you were pure and kind. But you saw how I treated Sarah this morning. How can I be considered a good man? Because you recognized your mistake and wanted to make it right. Truly bad men don't do that. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. The next morning, Marcus woke to the sound of laughter coming from the kitchen. When he went down for breakfast, he found Lily sitting at the counter, helping Mary Catherine make pancakes. Daddy, the girl shouted excitedly, Grandma Mary is teaching me how to make pancakes just like you liked when you were little. Marcus smiled, remembering Mary Catherine's pancakes perfectly. It was one of the best memories of his childhood. She makes the best pancakes in the world. It's true. I've already eaten 3. Only 3? When I was little, I ate at least 5. So you were greedy, Daddy? Yes, I was, Marcus laughed, sitting down at the table, and Mary Catherine always let me eat as many as I wanted. Because you were so skinny, Mary Catherine explained, serving a stack of pancakes to Marcus. Your mother was always saying you needed to put on weight. My mommy also says I need to put on weight, Lily commented. So you and your daddy are exactly alike. Marcus tasted the pancake and was immediately transported to his childhood. The flavor was exactly the same, awakening memories he had buried deeply. Isn't Sarah coming to work today? He asked. She said she'd come later. She wanted to give us some time to settle in here at home. She's very special, isn't she? Very. She's the one who made our reunion possible. Daddy, Lily interrupted, can I skip school today? I want to stay with Grandma Mary. You can't, little one. But this afternoon, when you get back, we can play together. What will we play? Whatever you want. I can teach you some games I used to play with your daddy. What games? Marcus and Mary Catherine exchanged a knowing look. Guess the games, he challenged his daughter. Hide and seek. That one too, but there's a more special one. Which one? Theatre, Mary Catherine revealed. Your daddy loved putting on little plays. We'd make up stories and he'd act out all the characters. Really, Daddy did theatre? Yes, he did. And he was a very good actor. Marcus laughed, remembering the afternoons he spent putting on plays with Mary Catherine as his only audience. She always applauded enthusiastically, even when he forgot his lines or stumbled in the middle of a performance. Then this afternoon we'll do a play, Lily decided excitedly. Yes, we will, my love. After Lily left for school, Marcus and Mary Catherine had time to talk more deeply. He told her about his adult life, the failed marriage, the difficulty of balancing work and fatherhood, the constant feeling of emotional emptiness. "I always felt like something was missing in my life," he confessed. "Now I know what it was, you, the presence of someone who loved me unconditionally." "You always had my love, Marky. Even from afar, I always rooted for your happiness." "Why did my parents do that? Why did they lie about you stealing?" Mary Catherine sighed deeply. "At the time, I didn't understand. Now I see they were afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Of your attachment to me. You were becoming closer to me than to them. You always ran into my arms when they returned from trips, preferred my food to hers, told me secrets you didn't tell them." "Did that bother them?" "Very much. Your mother even confronted me a few times, saying I was creating a harmful emotional dependency. But they were almost never home. You were practically my only source of affection." "Exactly. And that made them feel guilty and threatened at the same time." Marcus shook his head, indignant. "So they destroyed your life to protect their egos." "I don't see it that way. They acted as they thought was best for you. How can you defend them after everything they did? Because holding a grudge only hurts the one who feels it. I chose to forgive and move on." The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Sarah, who was coming for her second day of work after the revelation in the park. She found her boss and the former nanny talking animatedly in the living room, a scene she never imagined she would witness. "Good morning, Mr. Marcus. Good morning, Mrs. Hope." "Good morning, Sarah." Marcus stood up. "I want to officially thank you for what you did yesterday." "I didn't do anything special, sir." "Yes, you did. It opened my eyes to my own blindness and brought back someone I thought I had lost forever." "How was Mrs. Mary's first night at the house?" "Wonderful," Mary Catherine answered. "I feel at home again." "And Lily?" "Completely enchanted." Marcus smiled. She fell asleep calling Mary Catherine Heart Grandma. Sarah smiled, pleased to see her intuition was correct. "Are you going to keep Mary Catherine as Lily's caregiver?" "Definitely. Actually, Sarah, I want to discuss some changes in the household dynamics with both of you." The two women sat down, curious to hear what Marcus had to say. "First, Sarah, I want to give you a promotion. From today on, you will be the household supervisor. You'll get a corresponding salary increase and will be responsible for coordinating all domestic activities." Sarah's eyes widened in surprise. "But, sir, I don't have any supervisory experience." "You have something better, common sense and a generous heart. Those qualities aren't learned. You either have them or you don't." "And what would my specific role be?" "Coordinate the cleaning, shopping, and maintenance of the house. Mary Catherine will be dedicated exclusively to Lily's care. You'll work as a team." "I like the idea," Mary Catherine commented. "Sarah already knows the house routine, and it will be an excellent partnership." "Second," Marcus continued, "I want both of you to help me turn this house into a real home. For years, it was just a place where I slept and worked. I want it to become a place where Lily feels loved and protected." "How do you plan to do that?" Sarah asked. "I'm not entirely sure yet. That's why I need your help. You understand affection, tenderness, things I've forgotten how to do." Mary Catherine stood up and walked over to Marcus, gently touching his face as she did when he was a child. "You haven't forgotten, my son. You just buried those memories because they hurt too much. Now you can let them resurface. I'm afraid I won't know how to be a good father to Lily. You already are a good father. You just need to relax and be more emotionally present." "How do I do that?" "Start by playing with her, talking about silly things, participating in her daily routine, showing genuine interest in the little details of her life." Sarah watched the dialogue with growing emotion. She was witnessing the transformation of a man who had emotionally armored himself for decades, now beginning to open up to love again. "Mr. Marcus," she said softly, "may I suggest something?" "Of course. How about if you came home earlier some days of the week, to have dinner with Lily, help with homework, read a bedtime story? Do you think she'd like that? I'm sure children need attention from their parents more than expensive toys or pretty clothes." "You're right. Starting today, I'll try to be home by at least 6 in the evening. And on weekends, Mary Catherine suggested. How about planning special activities just for the two of you? What kind of activities? Going to the park, the beach, the movies, the zoo? Simple things that create loving memories. Marcus nodded, mentally reorganizing his priorities. For years, he had put work above everything. Now he realized he was missing the most important years of his daughter's childhood. "There's one more thing I want to discuss," he said, seeming slightly embarrassed. "What?" the two women asked almost in unison. "I want you to treat me differently, less formally, more familiarly." "How so?" Sarah asked. "Don't call me Mr. Marcus all the time, just Marcus is fine. And I want you to feel comfortable correcting me when I'm being too cold or distant." "That might be hard at first," Sarah admitted. "I'm used to the formality. I understand. But I want this house to be an environment where everyone feels like part of a family, not just employee and employer." Mary Catherine smiled tenderly. "You are remembering how to be happy, my boy. I'm trying, with your help." The rest of the morning passed quickly, with the three people discussing practical changes to the household routine. Marcus cancelled several meetings to stay home and dedicate himself to the transition. For the first time in years, work was not his number one priority. When Lily returned from school, she found a completely different atmosphere. Marcus was in the living room putting together a puzzle with Mary Catherine, and Sarah was preparing a special snack in the kitchen. "Daddy!" she shouted in surprise. "You're home early." "Yes, I am, little one. And I'm going to try to be home early every day." "Really? Promise?" "I promise I'll try." Lily ran into her father's arms, and Marcus hugged her with an emotional intensity he hadn't shown in a long time. He felt complete in a way he had forgotten was possible. "Grandma Mary, can we do the play now?" the girl asked excitedly. "Yes, we can. But first you need to do your homework." "Oh, can I do it later?" "No, my love. First responsibilities, then fun." Marcus watched as Mary Catherine set limits with firmness but kindness. Lily didn't throw a tantrum. She just accepted the rule and went to get her school supplies. "Daddy, can you help me with my homework?" she asked hopefully. Marcus was surprised by the request. Lily had never asked for his help with schoolwork before. "Of course I can, little one." Father and daughter sat at the kitchen table while Mary Catherine prepared a snack. Marcus discovered that helping with homework was more rewarding than any deal he had closed recently. "Daddy, were you good in school when you were little?" Lily asked as she wrote. "Yes, I was, and do you know who helped me study? Grandma Mary." "That's right, she taught me math, English, helped me memorize the multiplication tables." "Is that true, Grandma Mary?" "Yes, my love. Your daddy was a very dedicated student." "I want to be dedicated like him too." Marcus felt a deep emotion hearing his daughter say she wanted to imitate him. He realized he was a role model for her, and that responsibility touched him deeply. After finishing the homework, it was time for the promised play. Mary Catherine suggested they create a story together, each inventing a part. "I'll start," she said theatrically. "Once upon a time there was a very brave princess who lived in an enchanted castle. And this princess had a pet unicorn that could fly," Lily added excitedly. "And one day, an evil dragon kidnapped the unicorn." Marcus continued the story, getting into the spirit of the game. "But the princess wasn't afraid. She took her magic sword and went to save her friend," Lily concluded dramatically. They spent a whole hour developing the story, each playing different characters. Marcus was surprised by his own creativity and ability to play, skills he thought he had lost in adulthood. "Daddy, you're a very good actor," Lily praised when they finished. "I learned from the best drama teacher in the world," he said, looking at Mary Catherine. "Now I understand why Grandma Mary is so special to you," Lily commented. "She makes us feel happy inside." "Exactly, little one." During dinner, Sarah joined the family at the table, something that had never happened before. Marcus insisted she participate in meals as part of the new family dynamic. "How was your first day as household supervisor?" he asked. "Different. I feel more responsible but also more valued," Sarah answered honestly. "And you, Mary Catherine? How do you feel on your first official day as Lily's nanny?" "Like I've come back to life," she replied emotionally. "During 2 years on the streets, I just survived. Today, I have a purpose again. What is your purpose, Grandma Mary? Lily asked curiously. To take care of you, to see you grow up happy and healthy, to teach you the good things in life. And what is my purpose? To be a happy girl, to study hard, to obey the adults who love you, and to be kind to other people. Like Sarah was kind to you. Exactly like Sarah was kind to me. Marcus observed the conversation with growing admiration for Mary Catherine. She had a natural wisdom for dealing with children, turning simple moments into valuable life lessons. Daddy, Lily said suddenly, is our family complete now? The question caught Marcus off guard. What do you mean, little one? Now we have me, you, Grandma Mary, and Sarah. And are we a real family? Marcus looked around the table, seeing three women who, in different ways, had transformed his life. Yes, little one, we are a real family. Even though Sarah and Grandma Mary aren't of our blood? Family isn't just who shares the same blood, my love, Mary Catherine explained. Family is who loves and takes care of each other. So do you love me? Very much, the three voices replied in unison. Lily smiled radiantly, and Marcus realized his daughter was living the childhood he himself would have liked to have had, surrounded by love, attention, and emotional stability. That night, after Lily fell asleep, the three adults gathered in the living room to plan the next steps of the new family dynamic. I want to make some physical changes to the house too, Marcus announced. What kind of changes? Sarah asked. Turn the home office into a playroom for Lily, put a swing in the garden, maybe a small kiddie pool. She'll be over the moon with happiness, Mary Catherine commented, and I want to renovate her room too, make it more colorful, more cheerful. I can help with the decor, Sarah offered. I have some ideas. Of course, in fact, I want both of you to be part of all these decisions. This house belongs to all of us now. Mary Catherine was moved by the declaration. After 2 years of not having a place to call her own, she was now part of a family again. Marcus, she said softly, can I ask a favor? Anything. I want to visit your parents' grave. Marcus was surprised by the request. Why? To make peace with them, to forgive once and for all, and leave the past behind for good. You forgive them even after everything they did? I forgave them a long time ago, but I want to go there to make that forgiveness official, and to give thanks. Thanks for what? For allowing me to take care of you for 7 years. They were the best years of my life. Marcus was silent for a long moment, processing the request. All right, we'll go this weekend. Can I take Lily? I want her to meet her grandparents, even if only at the grave. Yes, you can. Sarah watched the dialogue with admiration for Mary Catherine's capacity for forgiveness. The lady had suffered 30 years of consequences for an injustice, yet she could genuinely forgive. Mrs. Mary, she said, how are you able to forgive like that? Because holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It only hurts the one who feels it. But isn't it difficult? At first it was, especially in the early years when the anger and pain were greater. But with time I learned that forgiving isn't forgetting what happened. It's choosing not to let what happened keep hurting you. Marcus listened to the explanation with growing admiration. I always thought forgiveness was weakness. It's the opposite. Forgiving requires enormous inner strength. Holding a grudge is much easier. And how did you find that strength? In faith, in the hope that one day things would get better, and in the certainty that you would become a good man, even without me around. Your faith in me was greater than my own faith in myself. Because I knew you when you were pure, before life's wounds hardened your heart. The conversation was interrupted by Lily, who appeared in the living room in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. I can't sleep, she murmured. Why not, my love? Mary Catherine got up to welcome her. I'm afraid I'll wake up and find out all this was a dream. The statement touched the hearts of the three adults deeply. Marcus approached his daughter and picked her up. It's not a dream, little one. All of this is real. Grandma Mary will be here when you wake up. Sarah, too. And I will keep coming home early. Promise? I promise. Can I sleep in the middle of you tonight, just tonight? In. The adults exchanged glances and smiled. "Yes, you can," Marcus replied. They improvised a sort of camp in the living room, with mattresses on the floor and lots of pillows. Lily nestled between her father and Mary Catherine, while Sarah settled nearby. "Now I'll sleep peacefully," the girl sighed contentedly. "Why?" Marcus asked. "Because I'm surrounded by all the people who love me in the whole world." Marcus looked around and realized that, for the first time in his adult life, he was truly happy. Not happy for having dollars, professional success, or material possessions. Happy for loving and being loved unconditionally. The next morning, Marcus woke before everyone and watched the three women who had transformed his life. Lily slept peacefully, her arm around Mary Catherine. Sarah breathed calmly, a gentle smile on her face. Mary Catherine, even while sleeping, kept a protective hand on the child's head. It was then that Marcus realized this wasn't just a second chance for Mary Catherine. It was a second chance for all of them to be a real family. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out, now continuing. The following days brought a completely new routine to the Harrison home. Marcus kept his promise of coming home early, actively participating in family activities. Mary Catherine adapted wonderfully to the role of caregiver, and Lily flourished under so much loving care. Sarah, in her new role as supervisor, organized the house with even greater efficiency, but now with a sense of belonging she had never experienced before. For the first time in her 28 years of life, she felt truly part of a family. At the end of the week, as promised, Marcus took Mary Catherine and Lily to the cemetery to visit her parents' grave. The girl held firmly to the hand of her heart grandma as they walked among the headstones. "Daddy, why does Grandma Mary want to talk to your parents if they already went to heaven?" Lily asked innocently. "Sometimes people need to say important things, even after someone has passed away," Marcus explained. "It's a way of making peace with the past." When they reached the black granite tombstone, Mary Catherine stood in silence for a few moments, gathering her thoughts. Then she began to speak softly but audibly. "Mr. Arthur, Mrs. Margaret, I've come here to say that I forgive you for everything that happened. I know you acted thinking of Marcus's good, even if I don't agree with the methods." Marcus felt a lump in his throat hearing Mary Catherine address his parents with such respect, even after 30 years of injustice. "I want to thank you for allowing me to care for Marcus for 7 years. He became exactly the good and honest man I always knew he would be, and now they've given me the chance to take care of your granddaughter too." "Were they my grandparents?" Lily asked softly. "Yes, they were, my love," Mary Catherine replied, kneeling beside the girl. "And I'm sure that wherever they are very happy to know you exist, and that you are such a special girl." "Did they love me?" Marcus knelt on the other side of his daughter. "They didn't get to meet you, little one, but if they had, they would have loved you very much. Like you love me. Exactly like we love you." Mary Catherine placed a small violet seedling in the pot on the grave. "It was your grandmother's favorite flower," she explained to Lily. "She had a garden full of violets at the house where I took care of your daddy." Marcus vaguely remembered his mother's garden, but had completely forgotten the detail about the violets. It was impressive how Mary Catherine had preserved memories he himself had lost. "Can I plant violets in our garden too?" Lily asked. "Of course you can," Marcus replied. "We'll make a special little spot just for them. And can I bring some for my grandparents sometimes?" "Whenever you want, my love." On the way back home, Lily chattered about her grandparents, creating a loving mental image of the people she had never met. Marcus realized how Mary Catherine had turned even that potentially sad moment into a positive experience for the child. "Grandma Mary," Lily said in the car, "thank you for taking care of my daddy when he was little." "Why are you thanking me, my love?" "Because if you hadn't taken good care of him, he wouldn't be such a good daddy to me." Marcus almost lost control of the steering wheel from the emotion. His 6-year-old daughter had expressed something he himself was beginning to understand. All the love he had received in childhood had shaped his ability to love as an adult. "Your daddy was always special," Mary Catherine said. He just needed to remember that. And you helped him remember? We all help each other remember what's important. That afternoon, while Lily played in the garden and Mary Catherine prepared dinner, Marcus found himself alone with Sarah in the living room. "I want to tell you something," he said. "What is it?" "Last night, for the first time in years, I slept without taking anxiety medication." Sarah smiled. "That's wonderful. For years, I had insomnia because my mind wouldn't stop working. Worries about work, responsibilities, the constant feeling that something was missing in my life. And now? Now I sleep peacefully because I know I'll wake up in a house full of love. Marcus, you've changed a lot in these few days." "How so?" "You're lighter. You laugh more. You play with Lily. You show affection. It's like you're a different person." Marcus became thoughtful. "Actually, I'm not a different person. I'm the same person I've always been, just without the emotional protections I built over the years." "What protections?" "The distance, the coldness, the excessive focus on work. They were mechanisms I developed to avoid getting hurt. And you don't need them anymore. Now I have you three to remind me that it's worth opening up to love, even at the risk of getting hurt." The conversation was interrupted by Lily's arrival, who ran into the house with her hands dirty from soil. Daddy, I planted the violets. Do you want to see?" "Of course I do." In the garden, Marcus found a small flower bed Lily had improvised with Mary Catherine's help. The violet seedlings were carefully planted and watered. "It's beautiful, little one. Grandma Mary said they will grow and make lots of colorful flowers. And they will. When they bloom, we'll take some to your grandparents. And can I give some to Sarah too?" "Of course you can." "Why?" Marcus asked, curious. "Because she was the first person who was kind to Grandma Mary. If she hadn't offered coffee every day, you would never have found each other again." The child's observation surprised Marcus with its insight. Lily was right. Sarah was the key piece that made that whole reunion possible. "You're right, little one. Sarah deserves special flowers." That evening during dinner, Marcus made an unexpected announcement. "We've decided to make some changes at the company." "What changes?" Sarah asked. "I'm going to hire a partner to share the operational responsibilities with me. That way I can spend more time at home without harming the business." "Won't that affect your financial situation?" Mary Catherine worried. "It will reduce my earnings a bit, but greatly increase my quality of life. And I've discovered I prefer having fewer dollars and more time with you all." "Daddy, does that mean you'll play with me more?" Lily asked hopefully. "Much more, little one. We'll have whole weekends together, real vacations, time to do all the activities we want. Even going to the amusement park. Especially going to the amusement park." Lily celebrated by clapping her little hands, and Marcus realized he had made one of the best decisions of his life. For years he had accumulated money thinking he was securing a better future for his daughter. Now he understood that the best inheritance he could leave her was happy childhood memories. "There's something else I want to discuss," he continued. "What?" the three asked curiously. "I want to legally formalize your place in my family." "How so?" Sarah asked, confused. "I want to include both of you as beneficiaries in my will. If anything happens to me, I want to be sure you'll be financially protected and can continue caring for Lily." Mary Catherine was speechless. "Marcus, that's not necessary." "Yes, it is. For years, I only worried about financial security. Now I want to provide emotional security too. Lily needs both of you, no matter what happens to me." "But I'm just an employee," Sarah protested. "No, you're family, and family protects each other." The tears in both women's eyes confirmed for Marcus that he had made the right decision. For the first time in his life, he was thinking about the well-being of other people with the same intensity he had always thought about his own success. "Daddy," Lily said suddenly, "are you crying?" Marcus realized there were tears in his eyes. "Yes, I am, little one." "Why? Are you sad?" "No, my love. Sometimes people cry when they're very happy. Are you very happy?" "Happier than I've ever been in my whole life." "I'm happier than I've ever been in my whole life too." Marcus looked around the table, seeing his improvised but perfect family. Sarah, the woman who had had enough compassion to see humanity where he had only seen inconvenience. Mary Catherine, the maternal figure who had shaped his deepest values and was now shaping his daughters. Lily, the child who had taught him that the purest love is the one that expects nothing in return. 3 women of different ages and backgrounds, united by fate and love. 3 women who had saved a man from his own emotional coldness and taught him that true wealth isn't in material possessions, but in the emotional bonds we build. "You know what else moves me about this whole situation?" Marcus said, wiping away tears. "What?" they asked in chorus. Thinking that if I hadn't followed Sarah that morning to complain about the delay, none of this would have happened. Fate has mysterious ways of bringing together the people who need to be together, Mary Catherine observed wisely. "Do you really believe in fate?" "I believe some people are born to find each other no matter the circumstances. You and I lost 30 years apart, but at the right moment, we found each other again." And what if I had fired Sarah that day instead of following her? It probably would have found another way to bring us together. True love always finds a way. Marcus smiled, for the first time in his life genuinely believing in the transformative power of love. Not the romantic love from movies, but the human, generous and unconditional love he had rediscovered in his own home. In the weeks that followed, the Harrison family routine settled harmoniously. Marcus kept his promise to come home early religiously, taking an active part in Lily's education. Mary Catherine blossomed in her role as a caregiver, regaining her self-esteem and sense of purpose. Sarah took on her new responsibilities with competence and pride. Lily was transforming daily. The sad, attention-starved little girl gave way to a radiant child, secure in the love surrounding her. Her school grades improved, her nightmares disappeared, and her laughter echoed through the house again. The most surprising change, however, happened to Marcus. The rigid, distant businessman discovered he could be professionally successful without sacrificing his humanity. With fewer hours dedicated to work, he became more efficient and creative. His employees noticed the change and began to respect him not just as a boss, but as an inspiring leader. A month after the reunion in the park, Marcus received an unexpected call. It was from an old childhood friend who had seen a photo of him on social media. "Marcus, man, I saw the photo of your daughter on Instagram. She looks just like you as a kid." "Thank you, Justin. How are you?" "All good. Listen, do you remember your old nanny? What was her name again?" Marcus felt his heart race. "Mary Catherine. Why?" "So you do remember her?" "Man, I was thinking about her lately. She was crucial in my childhood too, you know." "How so?" "After she left your house, she worked at mine for a few months. I got very attached to her. When my parents sent her away, I cried for weeks." Marcus fell silent, processing the information. "Did your parents also make up some story about her stealing something?" "Exactly. They said she had taken one of my mother's watches, but I knew it was a lie because I saw my mother putting the watch in a drawer the next day. My parents did the same thing, made up that she had stolen jewelry. What a strange coincidence, right? Do you think she really No, Marcus interrupted firmly. She never stole anything. Our parents lied. How do you know? Because I found her again recently. She spent 30 years paying for crimes she didn't commit. Marcus briefly told the story of the reunion and the situation in which he had found Mary Catherine. Justin was shocked. My God, Marcus. That's terrible. Where was she all these years? On the streets, mostly. Our lie destroyed her life. Our lies, Justin corrected. I also never questioned my parents' version. The difference is now we can make amends, at least partially. Justin was silent for a few moments. Can I see her? I'd like to apologize in person. Marcus consulted Mary Catherine, who was surprised and moved to learn that Justin also remembered her and wanted to see her again. Of course I want to see him, she said. Little Justin was a lovely child. I always wondered what happened to him. The meeting was scheduled for the following weekend. When Justin arrived at the Harrison home, he was emotional upon recognizing Mary Catherine, even after so many years. "Mary Catherine," he said with a choked voice, "forgive me for never questioning my parents' lie. You are already forgiven, my boy. You were children. But now we are adults. And as adults, we can repair this injustice." How? Justin explained that he had become a lawyer and wanted to file a compensation lawsuit against the families who had slandered Mary Catherine, based on evidence that the accusations were false. "I don't want revenge," Mary Catherine said softly. "Only peace. It's not revenge, it's justice. You have the right to compensation for the damages you suffered." Marcus supported Justin's idea, but respected Mary Catherine's decision not to sue anyone. For her, the reunion with the boys she had loved was compensation enough. "Then at least let me help in another way," Justin insisted. "I have some contacts that could be useful." "Useful for what?" "To create job opportunities for other people in vulnerable situations. We can set up a social project in your name." The idea interested Marcus. "How would it work?" "We can create a foundation that offers professional training and job opportunities for the homeless." Mary Catherine would be the general coordinator, using her own experience to help others. "It's a beautiful idea," Sarah commented. "You could help many people who went through the same situation." Mary Catherine became thoughtful. "It would be rewarding to be able to turn my suffering into something useful for others." "Then it's decided," Marcus announced. "We'll create the Mary Catherine Foundation for Social Reintegration." "The name could just be the Hope Foundation," she suggested, "because it was hope that kept me alive all these years." In the following months, Marcus, Justin, and other childhood friends who had been cared for by Mary Catherine worked together to structure the foundation. They discovered there were at least a dozen families who had used the same false excuse to dismiss the nanny over the years. "It seems it was a common practice back then," Justin explained. "Parents who felt threatened by their children's attachment to their caregivers would invent stories of theft to justify the dismissal and break the emotional bond." "It's an immense cruelty," Marcus commented, outraged. "It was a different time. The concept of healthy emotional bonds between children and caregivers wasn't well understood." The Hope Foundation was inaugurated 6 months after the reunion in the park. Marcus donated a building in the city centre to house the activities, and several of Mary Catherine's former children contributed financially to the project. On Inauguration Day, more than 15 adults who had been cared for by Mary Catherine during childhood attended the event. All had similar stories: parents who invented false accusations to dismiss the nanny when they realized their children were too attached to her. "Just look," Mary Catherine said emotionally, looking around the room full of her former children. "All these children became wonderful adults, in spite of everything." "Because they received true love in their early years," Marcus observed. "That marks a person forever. And now we can offer that same chance to other people who need a new opportunity." The foundation began serving 10 homeless people, offering temporary housing, vocational courses, and psychological support. Mary Catherine personally supervised each case, applying all the experience and wisdom gained during her own years of hardship. One of the first beneficiaries was a 40-year-old man named Stanley, who had lost his job and family due to alcoholism. Mary Catherine worked with him for months, not only offering practical support, but most importantly, believing in his ability to rebuild his life. "Why don't you give up on me?" Stanley asked one day after a relapse. "Because someone believed in me when I no longer believed in myself," Mary Catherine answered. "Now it's my turn to believe in you." "Who believed in you?" "A young maid who offered me coffee every morning for 3 months, without asking for anything in return." Stanley grew curious about the story, and Mary Catherine told him everything about her reunion with Marcus through the kindness of Sarah. "So a cup of coffee changed your entire life?" he asked, impressed. "A cup of coffee offered with love can change any life." Mary Catherine's story became known in the small town of Savannah, inspiring others to get involved in social work. Sarah began organizing food and clothing drives for those assisted by the foundation. Marcus used his business influence to secure partnerships with other companies, creating more job opportunities. Lily, even though she was still very young, participated in the foundation's activities whenever possible. She helped distribute snacks, played with the children of the beneficiaries, and made drawings to decorate the walls of the headquarters. "Daddy," she asked one day, "why don't some people have a home?" "For several reasons, little one. Sometimes they lose their job, sometimes they get sick, sometimes they don't have family to help." "But now they have Grandma Mary to help, right?" "That's right. And you are helping too, in your own way." "How am I helping?" "By being kind to everyone, smiling at people, making drawings that brighten the place. Small gestures of affection can make a big difference in someone's life. Like Sarah's coffee made a difference for Grandma Mary." "Exactly like Sarah's coffee made a difference for Grandma Mary." 1 year after the reunion, the Harrison family was unrecognizably transformed. The house that was once silent and cold now overflowed with life and joy. The walls were decorated with Lily's drawings, family photos, and plants that Mary Catherine lovingly cultivated. Marcus had found the perfect balance between work and personal life. His business prospered because he was happier and more motivated, but his main priority remained his family. He never again worked weekends or missed his daughter's important events. Mary Catherine found complete fulfillment in her dual role, caring for Lily during the week and coordinating the foundation on weekends. At 72, she had found a life purpose that gave meaning to all the years of suffering she had faced. Sarah grew professionally and personally. As a household supervisor, she developed leadership and management skills. As a member of the family, she discovered the value of belonging to a group that loves unconditionally. She began taking a technical course in administration, encouraged by Marcus, who wanted to prepare her to take on even greater roles in the foundation. Lily was a completely different child, secure, loving, generous, and happy. Her teachers commented on her unusual emotional maturity for her age, her capacity for empathy, and her natural tendency to help classmates who were going through difficulties. "She has an old soul," the teacher commented to Marcus at a school meeting. "It's as if she has wisdom beyond her years." "She is being raised by very special people," Marcus explained proudly. "It shows. We rarely see children so emotionally balanced." On the 1-year anniversary of the reunion, Marcus organized a special party in the Central Park where it had all begun. He invited all the beneficiaries of the foundation, the childhood friends who had been cared for by Mary Catherine, and some family friends from Lily's school. The bench where Mary Catherine used to sleep was decorated with flowers and a discreet plaque. "In this place love conquered indifference." The plaque mentioned no names or details, simply recording that something important had happened there. During the party, Marcus gave an emotional speech. "Exactly 1 year ago, I was a man rich in dollars but poor in love. I had a daughter who respected me but didn't truly know me. I had an efficient employee but didn't know she had a gigantic heart. I had a seemingly perfect life, but it was empty inside. Everything changed because of a cup of coffee offered with genuine love. Sarah didn't know she was saving 3 lives when she decided to help an unknown elderly woman. She simply followed her instinct of compassion. Mary Catherine didn't know she was saving my soul when she forgave me completely, even after 30 years of injustice. She simply followed her loving nature. Lily didn't know she was teaching me to be a real father when she asked Mary Catherine to be her heart grandma. She simply followed her need for love. And I didn't know I was finding my true family when I followed Sarah that morning to complain about 5 minutes of being late. Today, we are a family, not by blood ties but by the ties of love. And through the Hope Foundation, we are helping other people discover that there is always a second chance to start over. The audience applauded emotionally, but the most touching moment came when Lily climbed on a chair to speak into the microphone. "I wanted to thank all the people who made my daddy happy," she said in her childish voice. "Before, he was always worried and sad, even when he smiled. Now he laughs for real and plays make-believe with me. I want to especially thank Sarah, who brought my heart grandma to our family. And I want to thank Grandma Mary for teaching me that family is who loves and cares for each other, not just who has the same blood. And I want to thank my daddy for becoming the best daddy in the world when he discovered it was more important to be happy than to be rich." Marcus had to make an effort not to cry upon hearing his daughter's words. At 6 years old, she had understood and verbalized transformations he himself was still processing. When the party ended and everyone went home, the family gathered in the living room for a moment of reflection. "Do you know what my greatest gratitude is in this whole story?" Marcus asked. "What?" the three women asked, having discovered that it's never too late to start over. "At 42, I thought my personality was set forever, that I would always be the cold and distant man I had become." "And you discovered that wasn't true?" Mary Catherine asked, smiling. "I discovered that I had merely forgotten how to be myself. The boy who played with you, who laughed for no reason, who showed affection without fear. He was always here inside, just asleep." "And now he's awake," Lily commented. "Yes, he's awake, my love, and I don't intend to let him sleep ever again." "Daddy, can I ask a question?" "Of course, little one." "If you hadn't been mean to Sarah that day, do you think we would still be happy?" Marcus became thoughtful. "You know something? I think destiny always finds a way to bring together the people who need to be together. If it hadn't been that day, it would have been another time. Because love always finds a way." Lily repeated a phrase she had heard from Mary Catherine. Exactly. Love always finds a way. That night, after Lily fell asleep, the three adults stayed up talking late about future plans. The Hope Foundation was growing rapidly, already serving 50 people and had a waiting list. Marcus was thinking of expanding the project to other towns. "You know, this could become something national," he said to Mary Catherine. "It would be wonderful. How many people could be helped? But would you be willing to travel, to supervise new units?" "Of course I would, as long as it doesn't take me completely away from Lily." "I would never allow that. She needs you here." Sarah was listening to the conversation with growing interest. She had discovered a talent for organization and management, and the possibility of expanding the social work excited her. "I could help with the administrative side of the expansion," she suggested. "That would be perfect," Marcus agreed. "In fact, I'm thinking of making a proposal to both of you." "What proposal?" "That you become my partners in the foundation, official share in the profits and decisions." "Marcus, that's not necessary," Mary Catherine protested. "Yes, it is. You two are the heart of the project. It wouldn't be fair for me to have all the financial control while you do the most important work. But we are already well paid. It's not just about dollars, it's about recognition. You deserve to own this project as much as I do." Sarah was moved by the proposal. She had never imagined that one day she would be a partner to a successful businessman. Mary Catherine was also moved, realizing that Marcus wanted to formalize her importance in the project that bore her name. "All right," she finally agreed. "But on one condition." "What?" "That we change the name of the foundation to Hope and Love, because that's what we found in each other. Hope for a new start and unconditional love." "Perfect," Marcus agreed. "The Hope and Love Foundation it will be." The following months brought even more significant changes. The foundation expanded to 3 neighboring towns, always following the model of offering not just material support, but primarily emotional support and believing in each person's ability to rebuild their life. Marcus became a reference in corporate social responsibility, being invited to give talks and attend events about social reintegration. But his greatest satisfaction didn't come from public recognition, but from the transformation he saw happening in the lives of the people served by the foundation. Mary Catherine proved to be a natural leader. Her personal experience of overcoming adversity qualified her like no one else to guide people who had lost hope. She developed a special connection with each person assisted, seeing potential where others saw only problems. Sarah discovered a vocation for management that she herself hadn't suspected she had. She organized efficient service systems, created personalized follow-up programs, and established strategic partnerships with local businesses. Her practical training, combined with her human sensitivity, made her an exceptional administrator. Lily grew up surrounded by examples of generosity and love for others. At 7 years old, she already showed a social awareness uncommon for her age. She made a point of setting aside toys she no longer used to donate to the foundation's children, organized lemonade sales to raise funds, and always treated the beneficiaries with affection and respect. "Daddy," she said one day. "When I grow up, I want to work at the foundation too." "And what would you like to do there?" "I want to take care of the children who don't have a family, like Grandma Mary took care of you." Marcus was moved by the answer. His daughter was absorbing the most important values a person can have: compassion, generosity, and a sense of social responsibility. "You can do anything you want when you grow up, little one, but I am very proud to know you want to help other people. It's just that Grandma Mary always says that when you receive a lot of love, you have to share that love with those who need it." And she is right. So our family received a lot of love, right? Yes, we did. Then we have to share it with lots of people. Lily's childlike wisdom always surprised Marcus. She had intuitively understood that love does not diminish when shared. On the contrary, it multiplies. 2 years after the reunion, the Hope and Love Foundation had already assisted over 300 people with an impressive success rate. 80% of those helped managed to fully reintegrate into society, finding stable jobs and adequate housing. The foundation's story caught the attention of the national media, and Marcus was invited to participate in a television program about social responsibility. During the interview, he told the full story of the reunion with Mary Catherine. "What do you attribute the foundation's success to?" asked the host. "To authenticity. It's not a project created by people who studied the problem in books. It's created by people who have lived the problem firsthand." Did Mrs. Mary Catherine really experience homelessness? 2 years living on the streets. She knows exactly what every person who comes to us is feeling. And does that make a difference in the assistance? All the difference in the world. When someone in a vulnerable situation talks to Mary Catherine, they immediately realize they're speaking with someone who understands their pain. That creates a bond of trust that is fundamental to the recovery process. You've said in previous interviews that this experience changed your personal life as well. Completely. Before, I was a successful businessman, but I was also an absent father and a distant boss. Today I am a complete man, professionally successful, present in my daughter's life and personally fulfilled. What motivated you to make the employees partners in the foundation? Fairness. Mary Catherine is the heart of the project. Sarah is the operational brain. It would be dishonest of me to keep all the control when they do the most important work. And how does your daughter view this whole process? Lily grew up seeing that our duty is to help those in need. For her, it's natural. She never knew the cold, selfish father I was before. Do you regret anything in this process? Only that it took 42 years to discover that happiness isn't about accumulating material goods, but about sharing love. The interview aired on a Sunday night and caused a great stir. Marcus received hundreds of messages from people who identified with the story and wanted to help or create similar projects in their cities. But the message that moved him the most came from a 10-year-old boy from a neighboring town. "Mr. Marcus, my grandmother saw your interview on television and cried a lot. She said she was also a nanny for many years and that she always loved the children she cared for as if they were her own. But she never saw any of them again after they grew up. Mrs. Mary Catherine was lucky to find you again. Could you help my grandmother find the children she cared for too?" Marcus was deeply touched by the message and realized there were thousands of Mary Catherines scattered across the country, women who dedicated their lives to caring for other families' children, but were forgotten after the children grew up. He showed the letter to Mary Catherine, who was visibly moved. "How many people like me must be out there," she commented thoughtfully. "Many. And perhaps we can help them too." How? By creating a specific program for that, a project to help reconnect former caregivers with the children they loved. The idea evolved quickly. Marcus, Mary Catherine, and Sarah developed a project called the Heart Reunion Project, which functioned as a sort of analog social network to facilitate contact between former nannies and the adults they had cared for in childhood. The project worked through advertisements in local newspapers and community radio stations. People looking for former caregivers could leave their information at a central office, just as caregivers looking for former children could. The Foundation's team did the investigative and connection work. The first successful case was emotional. A 50-year-old retired teacher managed to reunite with the nanny who had cared for her from ages 2 to 8. The reunion was as touching as Marcus's with Mary Catherine. "This project is revealing something I never even imagined," Marcus commented to his partners. "How many people carry emotional scars from losing contact with important figures from their childhood? And how many caregivers live with broken hearts, not knowing what happened to the children they loved," Mary Catherine added. In 6 months, the Heart Reunion Project had already facilitated 15 successful reunions. Each story was unique, but all shared common elements: love interrupted by circumstance, longing held for decades, and immeasurable joy in the reunion. Marcus realized he had discovered his life's mission: to use his influence and resources to heal emotional wounds caused by forced separation between people who love each other, not just between caregivers and children, but in all kinds of affectionate bonds that had been unjustly broken. "You know what my greatest achievement is in this whole story," he said to Mary Catherine one quiet afternoon as they watched Lily playing in the garden. "What, my son?" "To have discovered that true success isn't measured by the size of a bank account, but by the number of lives we manage to touch positively." "You've touched many lives, Marcus." "We've touched many lives. I alone wouldn't have accomplished anything, but you were the one who had the courage to recognize your mistake and ask for forgiveness. Not everyone can do that. I learned from you that asking for forgiveness isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of maturity. And I learned from you that it's never too late to start over, regardless of age." Lily interrupted the adults' conversation, running toward them with her hands full of flowers she had picked in the garden. "Look how pretty," she said excitedly, offering flowers to each of them. "Who are these flowers for, little one?" Marcus asked. "For everyone I love, because when you love someone, you have to show that love every day." Marcus accepted his flower with emotion. His 7-year-old daughter had just summarized the life philosophy it had taken him decades to learn. Love needs to be demonstrated constantly through small, everyday gestures. "You're right, my love. Love needs to be shown every day." "How do you show that you love me, Daddy?" "By coming home early to play with you, helping you with your homework, telling stories before bed, and creating the foundation so you can be proud of your daddy." "And how do I show that I love you?" "By being an obedient girl, studying hard, being kind to other people, and giving me tight hugs like this one," he said, hugging her affectionately. "And how does Grandma Mary show that she loves us?" "By taking care of you with affection, making delicious food, telling stories, and helping other people in need." "And how does Sarah show that she loves us?" "By taking care of our house as if it were her own, organizing everything so we feel comfortable, and supporting us in all our important projects." "So we're a family that loves each other a lot?" "We are the most loving family there is, little one." Mary Catherine watched the dialogue between father and daughter with her heart overflowing with gratitude. At 73, she had found not just a place to live and work, but a true family that had welcomed her as if she had always belonged there. Sarah also became emotional listening to the conversation. At 29, she had discovered that family isn't just who gives birth to you, but who accepts you, values you, and makes you feel important. For the first time in her life, she felt truly loved and respected. And as the sun set over the flower garden at the Harrison home, the family was preparing for another quiet evening of conversation, playfulness, and affection. It was a simple scene, but loaded with meaning. 4 people from different backgrounds who had met by chance and chosen to become family through love. "Daddy," Lily said as they stood up to go inside, "can I ask you a question?" "Always, my love." "Do you think in the future, when I'm a grown-up, I'll be able to help as many people as you and Mommy do?" Marcus knelt down to his daughter's level, looking her seriously in the eyes. "I am absolutely certain you will help even more people than we do, because you're learning from a young age that the meaning of life is in serving others. But what if I make mistakes? What if I can't be as good as you? Then you'll learn from the mistakes and try again, like I learned, like Grandma Mary learned, like all people learn. And will you help me? Always, my love. As long as we are alive, we will be here to support you in everything. And after you go to heaven, then you'll have all the lessons of love we taught you stored in your heart, and it will be your turn to teach those lessons to other children. Like Grandma Mary taught you? Exactly like Grandma Mary taught me. Lily was satisfied with the answer and ran into the house. Marcus stayed in the garden for a few moments, looking at the violets they had planted in honor of his grandparents. The flowers were beautiful and vibrant, symbolizing that the love planted in childhood continues to bloom decade after decade. "What are you thinking about?" Mary Catherine asked, approaching him. "I'm thinking that my parents, even with all the mistakes they made, gave me something very valuable." "What?" "They gave me you in my early years, and that love I received from you sustained me through all the following decades, even when I didn't realize it. You were always a special boy, Marcus. You just forgot it for a while. And now Lily is receiving even more love than I received. She has you, she has Sarah, and she has a father who learned to show affection. Imagine what a wonderful adult she will become. She will be extraordinary, I'm sure. And she will continue our work at the foundation. The cycle of love will go on. That's how it should always be. Each generation receiving love and passing forward even more love." Marcus agreed, feeling profoundly grateful for having discovered this truth still in time to apply it in his daughter's upbringing. Many people go through their whole lives without understanding that love is the only thing that grows when it is shared. "Mary Catherine," he said softly, "I want you to know something." "What, my son?" "You saved my life, not just in childhood taking care of me when I was little, but also in adulthood, teaching me to be a better man. You saved mine too. You took me off the streets, gave me purpose, made me part of a family again. Then we saved each other. And Sarah saved us both by offering that first cup of coffee. And Lily saved us all, teaching us that family is those who love and care for each other." Marcus smiled, seeing the perfection of the circle they had formed. Each one had saved the others in some way, creating a web of loving interdependence that strengthened them mutually. 3 years had passed since the meeting in the Central Park. The Hope and Love Foundation had already expanded to 15 cities, serving over 1,000 people annually. The Heart Reunion Project had facilitated over 100 successful reunions between former caregivers and the adults they had loved in childhood. Marcus had become a national reference in social responsibility, but he remained, above all, a present and loving father. Lily, at 9 years old, was an exceptionally well-balanced, generous and happy child. Mary Catherine, at 75, was in full activity, personally supervising each new unit of the foundation. Sarah had graduated in business administration and become a respected entrepreneur, coordinating all the operational aspects of the social project. One Sunday morning, as the family had coffee in the garden, Lily made an unexpected announcement. "I want to throw a party to celebrate our meeting." "What meeting, little one?" Marcus asked. "The meeting of you three in the park. That was the day our family truly began." The idea delighted everyone. They decided to hold an annual party in the park, open to the entire community, to celebrate the transformative power of love and compassion. The first reunion party attracted over 1,000 people. Marcus told the full story of how a cup of coffee had transformed 4 lives. Mary Catherine spoke about the power of forgiveness. Sarah shared her experience of how small gestures of kindness can change the world. Lily, despite her young age, spoke naturally about the importance of loving people regardless of blood ties. "Our family proves that love doesn't need DNA," she said into the microphone, moving the audience. "It just needs heart." The party became an annual event anticipated by the whole town. People from other regions began traveling specifically to participate, and the Harrison family's story spread as an example that it is always possible to start over. On the 5th anniversary of the reunion, when Marcus turned 47, he took stock of everything that had changed in his life. From a businessman focused solely on profit, he had become a nationally recognized social entrepreneur. From an absent father, he had become a reference for present and loving fatherhood. From a distant boss, he had become a leader who inspired loyalty and dedication in his employees. From a lonely man, he had become part of a vibrant and loving family. But the most important transformation had been internal. From an emotionally armored person, he had become someone capable of loving and being loved without fear. "You know the greatest lesson I've learned in these 5 years?" he asked the family during the reunion anniversary dinner. "What?" the three women asked. "That there is no lost time when it comes to love. For 30 years I thought I had lost Mary Catherine forever, but the love we shared in childhood remained intact, waiting for the right moment to resurface." "That's true," Mary Catherine agreed. "True love doesn't age, it doesn't diminish with time, it doesn't get lost with distance. And the best part," Sarah added, "is that now you can create new memories together. And I get to be part of those memories from a young age," Lily completed. "I'll grow up remembering all of you with great affection." Marcus looked around the table, seeing his family united and happy. It was hard to believe that just 5 years earlier, he was a bitter man, overworking to fill an emotional void he didn't even recognize he had. The transformation had begun with irritation, 5 minutes of lateness from an employee. It continued with prejudice, the distorted view of people experiencing homelessness. It evolved into shock, the recognition of the former nanny. And it culminated in love, the rebuilding of emotional bonds that had been brutally interrupted. "Today I know," Marcus said emotionally, "that those 5 minutes of lateness were the 5 most important minutes of my life. If Sarah hadn't arrived late, if I hadn't decided to follow her, if she hadn't shown compassion for a stranger, none of this would have happened." "Destiny works in mysterious ways," Mary Catherine observed. "Sometimes it uses our irritation to lead us exactly where we need to be. And it uses our kindness to heal wounds we didn't even know existed," Sarah added. "And it uses our love to turn strangers into family," Lily concluded with her childlike wisdom. Marcus stood up and hugged each of the 3 women who had saved his soul. In that embrace, he expressed all the gratitude he felt for having discovered that happiness isn't about having more, but about being more loving, more present, more generous, more human. As he hugged his family, Marcus remembered the morning it all began. He remembered his irritation at Sarah's 5-minute delay, his indignation at seeing her offer coffee to a beggar woman, his arrogance in confronting her in the park. Now, 5 years later, he realized he had been the one truly in need that morning. Not the elderly woman on the bench, who despite all her difficulties had preserved her dignity and capacity to love. Not the employee, who despite her humble condition demonstrated generosity and wisdom. But himself, a man rich in material possessions, yet a beggar for genuine affection. Mary Catherine had offered forgiveness where he expected resentment. Sarah had offered wisdom, where he saw only subservience. Lily had offered pure love where he felt only responsibility. And through these 3 extraordinary women, Marcus had discovered that true wealth isn't in the assets we accumulate, but in the lives we touch. It isn't in the power we wield, but in the love we share. It isn't in the success we achieve, but in the happiness we create for ourselves and for others. The Hope and Love Foundation continued to grow, but its impact went far beyond the numbers. Every person helped became a multiplier of kindness, creating waves of positive transformation that spread throughout the entire community. Marcus, Mary Catherine, and Sarah had proven that it's never too late to start over, that love can heal the deepest wounds, and that true family is the one we build with the heart, not necessarily by blood. And Lily grew up surrounded by these examples of love, forgiveness, and generosity, prepared to become an adult capable of making a difference in the world. On the night of the 5th anniversary, when everyone had already retired, Marcus stayed alone in the garden, watching the violets blooming under the moonlight. He thought of his parents, and for the first time in decades, felt genuine gratitude for them. Despite all their mistakes, they had given him Mary Catherine during the most formative years of his personality, and that love planted in childhood had germinated at the right time, blossoming into a beautiful family and a meaningful life mission. Marcus smiled, realizing the circle had closed perfectly. The love received in childhood had returned multiplied in adulthood, and now it would perpetuate itself through Lily and through all the social projects they had created together. It was an inheritance far more valuable than any material fortune, an inheritance of love, compassion, and hope that would spread for generations to come. End of story. This was a fictional story created to touch our hearts. Now tell us what you thought. Do you believe small acts of kindness can transform entire lives? Tell us your opinion in the comments and share if you have ever lived through or witnessed a similar situation. Your experience may inspire others. Don't forget to leave your like if the story moved you. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other stories that will stir your feelings. Thank you so much for your company.